Germany's had some problems in the last, well, nearly 100 years or so, but let's narrow it down to the last 10, ever since Mama Merkel said "Wir schaffen das" and opened the world up to the benefits of diversity, like gang rapes and stabbings. So now the German Zoomers, who have basically grown up with this, and that's all they ever know, are sick to death of it, and decided, as we found out on Monday, to vote en masse for the AfD. And the establishment right-wing media, or at least nominally right-wing in this country, I'm talking about the Times, the Telegraph, the Spectator, who really want to contain the existing order that the likes of the Tory party have put in place, are throwing a fit. So I'm going to take you through some of the reasons why the Zoomers are engaging in a rebellion. It kind of connects to your previous segment on Boomer Truth, Dan, why they don't essentially feel the insistence on proving your anti-racist credentials.
That spell doesn't work on them.
It's waned over time.
Yes.
Yes. So cast your minds back about 2 weeks now. There was a diversity festival, great irony, and a Syrian chap showed up from the local asylum centre and got a bit stabby, and so he decided to stab, I think, killed 3 people and stabbed about 8 more. It's a 26-year-old Syrian man identified as Issa al-H. German police decided to storm the asylum centre, and he decided to confess to the crime. So diversity at a diversity festival, doing very diverse things. Islamic State did claim...
literally, I mean, it was just... you couldn't meme it.
Yeah, you didn't need
Cut
to.
the throats of 8 people, I believe 8 people, and 3 of them died.
Yes.
Gee.
Yeah. Islamic State claimed credit for this, but at this point, I mean, they don't need a sort of centrally organised nexus to do so. They've got so many of their ideologically aligned, low impulse control allies dispersed across Europe.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. They don't even need to centrally plan it. You've just got these nutcases.
When you say low impulse control, hang on. I think doing something like that involves high impulse control. It involves biding your time, waiting until it's the right time, and then going for it and cutting people's throats. It involves planning. It involves basically being a psychopath.
That, but also there are so many stabbings happening.
Oh, just random ones. You mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, I see, yes,
so
yes,
that it just becomes white noise. Like, they don't even need to centrally plan this anymore. They can just let diversity play out, essentially, which is a sad state of affairs, but that's something that's been inflicted on Germany. So the German government, the Greens under Olaf Scholz, decided to do Afghan deportations. So this was last Friday. There was a flight from Leipzig, and it was carrying 28 Afghan men, just 28, on board a Boeing 787 to Kabul. What the BBC didn't report is that each of these men were paid £1,000 to sweeten the deal, to stop them from actually protesting their own deportation. So the flights were paid for by the German taxpayer, all of their benefits while they were here was paid for by the German taxpayer, and they got £1,000 spending money at duty-free.
To be fair, it's still probably a good deal, but...
Yeah, but the thing is, they're just going to come straight back.
Well, yes.
Because they always blooming do, because they can't keep them out of the country permanently. And bear in mind, some of these people had committed heinous crimes, as detailed in here. So most of them were sexual offenders, including a man who had raped an 11-year-old girl at a park, and another man who took part in a gang rape of a 14-year-old girl in 2019. He's been there for 5 years. Why? Why did you pay him?
In a more civilised age, we just used to hang these people.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, agreed. Anyway, can't do that anymore, apparently. Also, another thing that annoyed everyone in Germany, which is why they might vote AfD, it turns out all of these so-called refugees were taking holidays back in Afghanistan. So they were going on their jollies. There were thousands of them, apparently. This is according to a German television station. The Afghans mentioned in their report have been able to return to Afghanistan with the help of blue passports handed out by German authorities to refugees who don't hold any form of identification from their home country.
Because they destroyed it on the way.
Well, yeah, quite. I've joked before that obviously underneath the channel there's like a coral reef of discarded documents.
I think that's the reason why people's loos get blocked sometimes. There's just so many passports.
Yeah, it's either Greek plumbing or faulty passports. About 60,000 Afghans in Germany have received such passports already. And also, of the 250,000 people eligible for deportation, only 16,000 were sent back last year. Why are they just stockpiling Afghan rapists? For a rainy day? I'd love to know. I'd love for the Germans to be able to tell me.
Well, for a sunny day where there's a long night and women will walk home alone, as happens in Oulu in northern Finland,
Especially if there's a festival.
where I live, a festival, something like that, and then they can be stockpiled, or for a New Year's celebration, and then they in perhaps Cologne, and then they can be sent out on that occasion to frighten the ladies.
Yes.
Sort of a new patriarchy, really. Patriarchy, the traditional German or English patriarchy is broken down, and therefore women are able to be sexually free and so forth. And so it's as if we've decided to institute, or certain kinds of women, like Angela Merkel, some peculiar women that don't have children, have decided to institute a new system of control.
Well, in certain areas of Paris, women, I've been seeing articles, women have been coming to the realisation, if I want to go out alone, I'm going to have to put a headscarf on. Is that or stay home?
Well, Tom Holland's Dominion's quite good on this. It's that predating the Christian patriarchy, where service was mutual and you had marriage to protect women, the interests of children and the most vulnerable in society, you had Roman patriarchy, where the most victorious soldier just decided to rape the daughters of noblemen in the middle of the street. And so I think you're going to get male domination, whether you like it or not, just whether or not the man himself is considerate of women and children, or if he, at his power and pleasure, just takes what he likes. And I think that's what's being imported.
Well, that's it. There's two kinds of. There's the patriarchy that's developed in the West, which is women will say, the man will say, I want sex. The woman will say, I want investment, and you have then this quid pro quo. But that also patriarchy also involves chivalry. It involves deference. It involves things like going down on one knee to propose,
or holding the door open,
or all of the. Or it involves women being looked after, seen as weaker, a kind of a kindly chauvinism, if you will. And that's not really what you have with the earlier kinds of patriarchy, with the Islamic kind of patriarchy. I think that it lacks the going down on one knee deference element. I'm sure there's variations in different kinds of Islam,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. More sort of what the right hand owns. It's very much immigration becoming a women's safety issue, as one would say. Anyway, please don't move things with the. I've lost my script. Wait. Similar things happening in Britain. Over here. So we got these stats in Britain the other day. Record numbers of migrants are actually living in Britain jobless. More than 1.6 million are unemployed or economically inactive, and it's costing us about 8 billion quid. So that's 1,689,000 non-UK nationals, either unemployed or classed as economically inactive, and currently aren't looking for jobs. The figure is only for the second quarter of 2024, surpasses the previous highs of 1,676,000 at the start of last year, and the 1,628,000 from early 2012, according to the ONS.
So Infinity Africans doesn't actually make GDP go up, it just makes unemployment benefits go up.
Considering the GDP of African countries where these people came from, turns out they just import the same work ethic. It's not just economic and educational circumstances that make human beings, it's human beings that make those circumstances.
And also, even when they argue that, we need these people to help run the National Health Service or whatever, even if that's true, one of the things that is noticed is that these immigrants are highly overrepresented in terms of NHS investigations for malpractice.
They're 2.5 times.
And such like, okay. Also, we know that the standards of a medical school in the University of the Congo is I'm afraid, or whatever it's called, is not going to be the same as even the standards at a dreadful medical school here. So you're importing basically bad doctors and bad nurses who are more likely to be investigated for malpractice. So even your justification for it, putting aside the fact that it's clearly costing a lot of money and pushing up house prices, it's unaffordable for Generation Z, people that want to have a reasonable lifestyle of their parents or whatever, they're not even very good on average.
So I was sat next to somebody at dinner at the Whitton who does HR for a very large organisation, so they've got thousands and thousands of employees, and they got sold on this sort of big data process, and they decided to take it into HR, and what they wanted to do is look for patterns in the people who give them problems at work, people who cause sexual harassment claims and don't work particularly well and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, they ran the numbers, and they got some very clear signals on basically who was causing the problem in this organisation, and it got buried so fast under such a ton of concrete because, well, basically it said what you think it's going to say.
Well, even The Guardian found that 700 Nigerian nurses have committed qualifications fraud this year. That's just a drop in the bucket. Bear in mind, only 3% of migrants in the last year came even on a health and social care visa, and they were dwarfed by the number of dependents they brought as well. So, no, not particularly beneficial.
I think I read that, is it something like 40% or 30% of Indian doctors are not actually qualified doctors, and that goes up to even doctors that are working in quite prestigious private hospitals in India. Significant proportions of them are medical school dropouts or people that are qualified nurses that pretend to be doctors and things like this.
Well, another depressing thing about these stats, by the way, is that these stats only cover 16 to 64-year-olds who are born overseas, who have the right to live in the UK, so it doesn't count students, obviously come over on the student visa and disappear into the Deliveroo economy, or asylum seekers. So we've got an extra 130,000 of those, costing us upwards of 14 billion a year as well.
And this Deliveroo economy, as a person who doesn't live in this country, and I don't see it as much where I live, I mean, how lazy are you people that you can't be bothered to go to the Indian takeaway, pick up your food and take it home?
Don't buy from them anyway. Don't at this point, don't buy from any businesses from the subcontinent because you don't know who they're hiring. You just don't. Just abstain from it. Don't use Uber. Don't use Deliveroo. Don't use any foreign restaurant.
Why don't you just cook your own food?
Yes.
Quite. Exactly. I did a sort of summary on this in a recent article I did that's a useful compendium. For example, did you know that 74% of all the jobs that have been created in this country since 2011 have gone to foreign workers? Things like that. So you can look at the sort of economics of immigration over in the UK as a test case for what's happening in Germany as well. But anyway, back to Germany. So the Zoomers have clocked onto this, and the Spectator, which confusing at this point, literally Douglas's columns are the only thing worth reading in there, are complaining about the far right winning in Germany. They've got some stats here on how the Zoomers particularly voted. Yes. We'll see some headlines shortly, but this is the breakdown for the actual Zoomers, right? So the AFD got 33% in Thuringia, and up 10% from the last 5 years, and 30% in Saxony. I think they came second place in Saxony, only up 3%, but still, good gains. According to the data published by pollsters, 38% of those between 18 to 24 voted for the AFD in Thuringia. In neighbouring Saxony, 31% did the same. In both states, the party was able to increase its vote share among this age group by at least 11% to become the most popular party with young Germans. Now, this vibes with how Reform UK was the most popular party among young men in the last election. Labour still being the most popular party.
I mean, 30% is a big number. If you would, I know it's a different system over here, but if you were to get 30% of the population in this country, you'd win by a landslide.
Well, Starmer only had 34% of the total, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. So you'd easily win. The problem in this country is sofa voters. I mean, the majority of people just
You'd certainly be able to come second.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's an interesting thing, though, that these young people who are your kind of age, whatever, they've never really known their own society as a relatively homogenous society. Yep. I mean, when we were kids, there were basically no non-English people on TV. There was occasionally Lenny Henry or Frank Bruno, but that was about it. And your life has been just constantly being bombarded with this unreality of the world is, England is multicultural. What is it that makes these Generation Z people that have never known England want to bring it about?
Because we look at something like Love Actually and it looks almost nostalgic, basically.
Right.
And we feel that we've been deprived of the opportunity to have the same living standards of our parents, despite doing everything right, despite getting married, wanting to have families, wanting to save up for deposits and the like. We've had that taken away from us, and we also, because we grew up in very multicultural schools, we can recognise cultural differences. So as soon as we're demanded to say that, oh, all people are equal and everyone's exactly the same, it's just racism causing crime, we're like, no, like I went to the school with the African kids who didn't like other African kids and the like, so you can't tell me, and I'm looking at TikTok all the time and seeing the exact same perpetrator every time I scroll, so you can't tell me.
Yeah, I suppose you're less controlled in the information that you imbibe as well, because we used to have the telly and the radio, and that was it, you know. And you at a very young age, you're computer literate, and you're able to look at this stuff and just. It must be weird though to sit at school. Well, I would trust my teachers to a certain extent, and trust authorities, and even trust the telly.
You used to think that they knew what they were talking about.
Yeah, Auntie Beeb, you know.
Yes, but there was no counter narrative at all.
But he's brought up to very quickly think my teachers are lying to me.
Well, loads of them as well are like fresh out of uni graduates who aren't particularly smart.
Well,
so if you're a young, disagreeable, slightly autistic male, then you're just going to say, well, that's bollocks, isn't it? And then you get sent out of the class a lot. Sorry, everyone who ever taught me, I suppose. But anyway, so we have a visual representation of this, how the AFD are doing. I mean, that's just quite nice, isn't it? That's pretty thundering.
Well done, German Zoomers.
Is the light blue girls?
The light blue is AFD for all
No, there's two. There's two, look.
Last year.
Is that last year?
That's been the last 5 years.
Okay.
So the 5 years. The important thing is you say girls. This is also a winning strategy. Why has this happened among Zoomers? Well, it's because there are two trends going on among the German youth. The first is this song that everyone has heard. This was a very recent one after the election.
We got a talking to on the opening speech of the Witten, do not sing Ausländer raus, because we're on a university campus.
Well, it's 100% going to happen at the Conservative Party conference this year, and I'm calling it now. And every Tory party leadership candidate, other than maybe Jenrick, will fall over themselves to condemn it, but that's going to happen at a fringe event.
Yeah.
Without doubt. And the interesting thing about that...
You know which one? I'll go to it.
I'm banned.
Yeah.
If you notice, gents, that wasn't loads of boisterous blokes singing that, as it usually is.
Yep.
Lots of female voices. Even Angela Rayner's getting in on the fun.
Oh yeah, there she is.
That's a mashup, surely.
It's obviously an edit. Don't worry.
Right.
Don't worry. Don't throw me in prison for misinformation, Keir Starmer. It is a fantastic edit, though. Love it. No. But there are lots of other women that are actually in on this, and the reason is there's a TikTok trend going round. My favourite independent journalist, Camille Druckper, has enlightened me to this. Basically, the same guy that did Auslander Raus, the original song for that, has done a song called Blah 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 in the 90s. There's a guy called Gigi D'Agostino. He's Italian, but it's sort of taken off in Germany because it's all Europop, isn't it? And there are a bunch of women on TikTok changing the lyrics to AfD Deutschland Party AfD. Like, I won't pretend to understand the sort of female attention economy, but I think
She is very fetching.
she's also young enough to be your daughter.
She's coordinated her fingernails with her bra.
Oh, lovely.
Again, female attention economy. Won't understand it, but
She's thought it through.
the fact that this is now high status signalling for women to essentially get attention online means that the cultural currents are going towards the right in Germany.
Oh, yeah, who was it who kept on saying that culture is downstream of whatever hot chicks want?
Mary Harrington.
Right, okay, there we go.
She was right. It's also, look, not all the critical theory is a write-off. Standpoint
That's
epistemology
fascinating
matters.
because with the church ladies and whatever in Victorian England,
Yes.
a culture became really Christian and right-wing and
Yes.
conservative
Yes.
and anti-sex, and all the hot chicks in their bodices and whatever they were wearing
Yes.
wanted
The
that.
little frumpy hats.
Yeah, they wanted that because of course there was the problem of syphilis and God knows what, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they got. So if we can just get the hot young chicks with their bra-coordinated fingernails
Yes.
to
We can save Western civilization.
which would mean
one
promoting
bra and fingernail
immigration.
painting at a time.
Immigration as a feminist issue to do with women's safety.
That's what's happening in France. This is why there's a 13-point swing among young women for Bardella and Le Pen. It's because all the French feminists are going, yeah, there is a rape culture. It's among imported Afghans and Africans. It's like, yeah, that's kind of true. And there's like multiple examples of this. I'm not going to go through all of them because, again, I'm not Peter Hitchens. Don't goon. But there's just endless. There's
She's got a tattoo. She's mental.
Yeah, I don't like the tattoo.
No.
And there's too much eyeline.
And her lips might be fake.
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, I think
But-
she could be pretty if she made different lifestyle choices.
But number one, alt girls do appeal to a certain subset of men. Number two, they also, as an aesthetic, appeal to a certain subset of women.
She's got a septum ring.
I think she does, yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
Again, not my thing, but it does show that the cultural currents are going in a particular way, and I think that's encouraging. At
Did we
least,
get to hear her sing?
she doesn't sing; it's all lip syncing. It's TikTok, Dan. It used to be, what was it, Musically, where it was just a lip syncing app. I don't
I've got a
understand any of
TikTok.
this.
I've got I only follow one account though.
Who is it?
It's this lovely Spanish girl, and she tries to say English words, but she can't quite do it. So she says things like hippopotamus, and I'll show you it. Like, it's brilliant.
Dirty old man.
No. She's just trying. She's just trying to learn English.
Mate, we're in our mid-40s. I mean, this is.
It's
Anyway, before Dan's half of the desk raises up, we should look at all the other media that really hates this stuff, because this is a sort of organic groundswell of particularly young Gen Z women noticing that their life is under threat, or young Gen Z men looking at, I don't know, the economy and their ability to own a house and realising, oh, I'm getting taxed to high heaven to pay for Tom, Dick and Abdul's dependents. No, thank you very much. Well, The Spectator and the like don't really like that people are noticing that. And the same author that wrote about Gen Z's recent election results had written an article ahead of the election saying, is Germany's far right about to go mainstream? Now, if any, let's say, ostensibly right-wing publication uses the term far right, they're enemies, because they can't actually define it. Because the AfD are not even remotely far right. Mass deportations is not a Nazi policy. Also, the AfD are remarkably market liberals. So they're just sort of, I don't know, Bill Clinton from the 90s, really. They're rather tepid. But she's writing in here, in Berlin alone, right, and she scratches her head as to why the AfD are being voted for. In Berlin alone, burglaries are up a third in a year, serious bodily harm is at an all-time high, and police say 40% of all crime suspects are foreign nationals. Police are calling for extra tools to handle a new wave of knife crime from a new type of criminal. There is plenty to point to for those arguing that Germany's economic and political models are broken. Where could this new type of criminal have come from? I wonder if far-right conspiracy outlet Politico might be able to help us. Number of criminal acts in Germany rose 6% last year compared to 2022. The authorities are attribute this increase to high levels of migration. While foreigners make up 15% of Germany's population, they accounted for a record 41% of all crimes in 2023.
That's only born abroad people. That's born abroad.
Not even second-generation migrants, which commit crimes at comparable levels to their forebears, if you look at studies from Denmark and the Netherlands and the like. Crime that authorities attributed to foreign suspects rose by 23% in 2022 and 18% in 2023, according to government statistics. That's obviously the only things that get recorded as well. And we know that a lot of the time, as with that recent gang rape case, where an article said that the lawyer had gotten multiple of the perpetrators off because she argued they were poor and therefore just had to gang rape some young girl, so they didn't receive prison time. So that's wonderful. Also, the number of violent incidents involving a knife, like the one in Syria, or the one in what was the one in May where an Afghan went and stabbed a policeman?
There's hundreds of them now, isn't there?
Yeah, it was horrific and on video. The number of violent incidents involving a knife rose 40% from 2021 to 2023, hitting 14,000. So line go up, I suppose. But anyway, back to The Spectator to solve this complete mystery of why the young people would vote for the AfD. The success the AfD is having in Germany with youth is striking. It was the second most popular party with under 25s in June's European parliamentary election. Its parliamentary party has 456,000 followers on TikTok. The Saxony branch has 220,000. The AfD's main competition in the state, the Christian Democratic Union, has 1,530 followers on their regional account. And the Greens nearly very well didn't make it past the 5% threshold in multiple areas that actually got them back into Parliament, despite being the governing party. So
you see that overweight woman that was their leader with her lip quivering and crying.
The lip quiver was edited in, but the actual crying was real.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. But in either way, it's hilarious. I mean, it really does validate your theory of these fat, ugly, insecure people all voting left wing, doesn't it? I mean, considering the sort of women we were seeing promoting the AfD, there you go. They're also very upset about the fact that social media has been ablaze with the hashtag Hocker oder Solingen. Quote, either Hocker or Solingen. This is the
I remember Solingen. What's that again?
That was the diversity festival.
You think it's some kind of vitamin that you had when you were a child. That's Sanatogen.
Yes, that could be that.
This is the chap that was elected in Thuringia. His slogan is deport, deport, deport. And they're complaining, this runs the argument. And he's saying it's the only way of preventing more Islamist attacks. Oh, how horrible. The far right wants to deport foreign criminals who commit sex offences and stab people at festivals.
Yes.
Oh dear, how could this be allowed to happen?
Children can be safe when they go outside.
Yeah, how dare you protect women from foreign criminals? The Times was really upset as well. Here was their front page on Monday. Germany's far right has first big win since the Nazis.
Yeah, that's annoying. I mean, what a disgraceful headline.
Yeah. Well, they obviously can't call them Nazis because they'd be sued for defamation. So they're just making the insinuation. They're hoping that you smuggle it in if they make the sort of semantic
poisoning the well. It's not much of an insinuation, is it? It's a direct statement that the far right are the same as the Nazi party.
Yeah, quite. Also, The Telegraph wrote this. The far right's victory may tear Germany apart again. Right, okay, it's the far right response to the migrant thefts,
what the hell does that mean?
rapes
Does
and
that mean
stabbings.
that the far right victory will cause the undoing of Germany, the undoing of Bismarck? What the pre-1870 32 states?
They'll reorganise them.
Is that what it means? Or does it mean post-war East and West? Is that what it means?
It means that basically all the other parties, like in France against the National Rally, are going to team up against the AfD to stop them from getting in. So the AfD still existing will prevent that overarching agreed-upon consensus who want infinity immigrants from remaining in power.
The left's desperation to destroy their own nation.
Yeah, but tear Germany apart again implies it's previously been torn apart.
Oh, so it went to Poland at the end of World War I, didn't it?
Well, with that corridor.
Yes.
I think they're probably referring to a period in the late 30s, maybe the 1940s.
No, but Germany wasn't torn apart. No, Germany's been torn apart in the sense of post-war East and West Germany, or, as you say, post-World War I, that Prussian bit that was over here.
I think we need to get the green pen out and mark his article, because he's made a lot of errors.
He's made a lot of errors here, this Michael Vosbacher.
Yes, yeah, not exactly the best piece. Again, remember, Telegraph, usually completely okay with this stuff in the UK, completely beyond the pale in Germany. Weird.
If you have a beard like that, you should probably dye those white bits.
Anyway, because the media behave like this, the AfD just banned them from their election party so they can sing Ausländer raus in peace. And I don't blame them. As my good friend Harrison Pitt recently said, why is there no quote-unquote far-right figure like Tommy Robinson in Hungary? Why isn't there one? Isn't that funny?
Well, there is. There's a prime minister.
Yeah, but it's not exactly the...
Yes.
Okay, let's put it this way. Viktor Orban is not a Luton fan, right? There's no need for,
It's not a Luton fan, it's Wolves.
There's no need for, like, street-level football activism. And the reason is, in that country, they don't import stabby, rapey, tax-thieving foreigners. So they don't actually have a quote-unquote far-right. So if you would have dealt with these problems, the AfD wouldn't even be necessary.
But Hungary knows what happens if you have a left-wing government. So there was this guy just after World War I or whatever, I can't remember, Haley something or other, and he just basically declared, okay, I'm a pacifist, I'm going to abolish the army. And he abolished the army, so then he was invaded in all directions, from Czechoslovakia, from Romania, from God knows what. So then the communists, it was overthrown, and the communists came in to try and fight this off, and then they were overthrown, and then you had a fascist dictatorship. So Hungary knows what happens if you have insane left-wing people in charge, which is that you get invaded.
Yeah, and the two areas that voted AfD, turns out they were under East Germany. So almost like
we are definitely being invaded.
Yeah, so good luck to the German Zoomers for reclaiming your country. You might not necessarily have another 5 years to completely right the ship, but hopefully you can exert enough pressure on the government to actually deport people rather than just paying them to go back to Afghanistan for a holiday.
Well, and come on, British Zoomers, get with the programme.
But Afghanistan, I'm given the impression by a certain person that used to be on this, on one of the Lotus eaters, is a reasonably safe place where you can just go on holiday. And that being the case, is there really Afghanistan?
Oh,
so is it really? Do they really need to be in the UK? I mean, basically, it's now safe there. In fact, I was talking to an Uber driver the other night who is from Afghanistan, and he came here in 1979, and now, and only now, he's saying, "Yeah, I'm going to go back there. I'm going to go. It's safe. Taliban made it safe. It's fine."
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're up to, you can follow Connor's series where he talks to lots of prominent people in the Westminster political sphere. Here he's talking to Ben Habib. If you want to see what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Twitter where we post links to all of the work we're doing. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.